Well, back on the Chris McPherson Show Daily Dose to talk the Australia versus West Indies first test over there in Bridgetown, Barbados, and it is all wrapped up now. We've taken a moment's pause before we dug into our Daily Dose to wrap the test, and it was Travis Head and Beau Webster's show in the end. Despite some wonderful bowling from Shamar Joseph, it just wasn't enough for the West Indies. And look, Travis Head brought up his second 50 of the match early on day 3 and extended Australia's lead. He fell not long after. But Beau Webster and Alex Carey continued on. They extended their lead to 171 at lunch before Webster brought up his third half-century of his test career, which is quite phenomenal considering that he's not that far into it. Carey also took the challenge on with Australia leading by 198 when Webster departed and got bombing. He plundered some boundaries and he was scoring at nearly a run a ball as Pat Cummins, the captain, survived a DRS review for caught behind. Carey then brought up that half-century to go along with those of Head and Webster. And he did it with style with a bomb hit down the ground for 6 from the bowling of Justin Greaves. Cummins and Stark didn't offer a lot of resistance, but they gave short cameos to allow Carey to continue to build his tally. Carey was then dismissed at a match-high score of 65, which gives you an idea of the conditions and how challenging batting was, although some of the batsmen made it look a little bit more difficult than they should have. He chased a wide Roston Chase ball and just couldn't get hold of it the way he needed. Hazelwood then fell as the final wicket, giving Shamar Joseph a well-deserved 5 for in the second innings, 5 for 87 off his 25 and a bit overs, and seeing the Australians all out for a lead of 300. So that really set things up. As I said yesterday, or after day 2, I thought that 200, 225 should be enough, and that's what Australia had to bowl to. 300, it set things pretty comfortably for them. You had to think they were in prime position when it came to it. And look, the pressure was now firmly on the hosts, and they got off to a horrible start as the first over. Mitchell Starc, the superstar, the first over man, struck again, removing Craig Braithwaite with the final ball of his and Australia's first over of the innings. And look, some inventive and intentional batting from John Campbell looked to right the ship early for the West Indies alongside Casey Carty, but Campbell got a little too inventive as he tried like a bit of an attempted scoop. It was quite bizarre, which was then taken by Alex Carey. Hazelwood then put himself on a hat-trick as he snared Brandon King. The next ball couldn't complete it, but 2 overs later he kept the collapse happening. Roston Chase to a second Sam Consis catch, and then 2 more overs later it was Hazelwood taking his 4th wicket. Clean bowling, Casey Carty. And also the West Indies are in disarray at 5 for 56, chasing that 300. Still needing 244 runs, and Shai Hope then fell for 2 to Pat Cummins, and things were looking very poor. Some, lackadaisical running then. I'm not quite sure what they were thinking. Zari Joseph stranded. Marnus Labuschagne having his impact despite not being picked in the 11 as a substitute fielder. And it just continued on. Jamel Warrican, he survived a review, but then things started to look brighter, but it didn't last that long. 2 balls later, he edged behind to Hazelwood, just a feather, giving Hazelwood a 5 for. He was bowling really well in his second innings, and the hosts were in all sorts at 8 for 86, but Shamar Joseph, after starting with the ball, decided, well, I'll take it on my shoulders with the bat. So he had his say alongside Justin Graves as they combined for a 55-run partnership, but that was dominated by Shamar. He plundered 6 fours and 4 fours in a 22-ball, 44-run innings. He thought he was playing T20, did the big fella. He was dropped on 23 by Sam Consis. Fortunately, the damage wasn't too heavy for the Aussies. He did depart with victory still firmly in sight for the Aussies. Nathan Lyon had the last laugh on Joseph after Alex Carey parried up a ball from Joseph, which was caught by Usman Khawaja on the cleanup. And then Nathan Lyon, next ball, sealed the victory with a well-taken catch by Consis at short leg. And the West Indies were all out for 141, never in danger of threatening that total of 300. The Aussies, victory by 159 runs. Australia's best, Travis Head, with his 2 half-centuries, 59-61, and Josh Hazelwood, 7 for 84 across 30 overs for the innings. West Indies' best had to be Shamar Joseph. He took 9 wickets for about 130-odd runs off 42 overs and got 44 runs off those 22 balls in the second innings just to add some respectability and get them past the 100. It really demonstrated, those Shamar Joseph's innings, that the West Indies batting is an issue. Only 1 player scored higher in the match than Shamar Joseph and no half-centuries at all. It was difficult batting. Australia managed 3 in the second innings, half-centuries, and Casey, their number 3, was the only player to reach double digits twice. No other player in their 11 managed to get past 10 more than once, which is just absolutely atrocious from the West Indies. They need to sort this out. Their bowling managed to keep them in this, and credit to their bowling. and a dismal batting effort, especially by Australia in the first innings, kept them in the game, but they need to sort this out. They need to work on their batting. We know that they're a T20 powerhouse when they get going, but they need to be able to transition and transfer that to the red ball. They've got some clearly talented shot makers, but they need to find that balance and sort it out. And at the moment, they haven't done that. And you have to ask the question of where do the runs come from consistently for the Windies, because they can't rely on always bowling out opposition teams for under 150, as we saw in this match. Even when the pitch was difficult to bat on day 3, the Aussies managed to plunder some runs by being aggressive and counter-attacking. So the question will be, do the West Indies make changes? And if so, who are the changes? I think there was positive pieces from all of their batters, but not consistent. As I said, only one player made double digits twice, and that was Kesey. So some questions to be asked for the West Indies and their selectors. We'll wait and see what they deliver for the second test. For the Aussies, we know Steve Smith's likely to come back in for the second test. He's been cleared as fit. So who does he come in for? Is it Josh Inglis? Is it Cameron Green? Is it maybe Sam Constant, and that forces Inglis or Green or Head to open? I'm not sure. I don't know that I love that as an outcome, but Sam Constant has to be under pressure. He was the only player in the Australian 11 not to reach double digits once. He did do well in the field, but I don't think that papers over the cracks in his batting. He looked nervy, he looked edgy, and he looked uncomfortable. I talked about it earlier in the week about whether it's time for him to try and get back to some of his counter-attacking best, maybe not to the point of reverse ramps and scoops and all the wonderful stuff that he did to put Jasprit Bumrah off his game. He's not facing Jasprit Bumrah here, but he is facing high-quality bowling when you look at the likes of Shamar Joseph and co. So he needs to really consider how he goes about this, because at the end of the day, failure throughout this series may impact his ability to get back into the Ashes side and be there on home decks and playing in front of the Australian crowds. Alternatively, failure here might still see him sneak into the first Ashes test, but failure there will certainly spell either a long break, possibly the end of his test career, which seems so early and maybe premature. But has he been elevated in prematurely just due to lack of other opening options that are clearly proving themselves? That's a question for the selectors, and I'd love your thoughts. So let us know who you think should be opening, what should be the makeup of the Australian batting order, the top 6. I think Head's definitely got to be there, right? Webster's got to be there as well. Carey will be our keeper. Those 3 proved themselves and managed to salvage this result with their 60s each in the second innings. But the question is, those top 4, we saw an almost half century from Usman. We saw some okay batting at different points from the others, but Constance just didn't look comfortable. Is he the one most under pressure, or is it going to be Green or Inglis that makes way? Time will tell. I actually think it'll be Inglis that'll get pushed out, unfortunately. But, you know, maybe against these bowlers, the counter-attacking style of him up alongside Usman might be the mix that you want, and maybe Inglis should be the one to open. Green stay at 3, Smith at 4, and then Head, Webster and Carey. Time will tell. The second test is not far away. We'll be back to talk about it as it goes along on these daily doses. In the meantime, we've got lots of Wimbledon content, lots of other stuff dropping. Make sure to stay tuned to our weekly episodes as well, and let us know, what would you like to see us covering more of? And what do you think about the makeup of the Aussie side for the second test against the West Indies?